This is Ninja2dan. I'm going to continue covering 762 high caliber. This guide is going to cover some of the factors such as merchants, bartenders, and personal storage. We're going to be continuing to save from one of the previous guides which covered the start of the game. And this is just after we have obtained our first teammate. We left Sagrada and came to Campechino just because Sagrada does not have a bar, so there's no bartender. Every town that you go to, with a few exceptions, will have a bar. The bar can be seen as you go into a sector. By highlighting the different buildings, you might find the bar. If you want to spawn next to it, just pick a spawn point that is close to it. The bar will then have all these big, nice, shiny blue neon lights. You're then able to go and speak to the bartender. There are going to be various options, one of which is going to look for mission givers. The other is to allow him to hold on to a vehicle if you're trying to obtain a different vehicle. This is the way you would do so. You must have him take control of the old vehicle to put it away in order for you to be able to buy a new one. You can't have two vehicles at once. You will also have the see what you've got option. This will allow you to trade. Generally, the bartenders will not have a good selection of items. Their items will be very basic. You can also access your personal locker. You can see any vehicles that they have for sale. As noted in the other vehicle guide, the vehicle choice is going to depend on what your game level is, along with how much cash you have. Some of them will also offer a few of these various campaigns. These are campaigns that Blue Sun mod has added. I have not done them yet, but I have read up on a little bit of them. By doing some of these campaigns, they give you some really interesting rewards. As far as two-legged objects, he's talking about slaves. You can also borrow his radio to contact Merc and hire mercenaries. This is either if you have not done the mission for the army base and you do not have your own radio, or maybe you forgot it somewhere, or just wanting to do it this way. As far as the looking for work option, I honestly don't know what that does yet. I've tried it, but it didn't do anything. But as far as your locker goes, this is how you can access storage. If you watch the vehicle guide, it takes place on the army base, and I explain, without giving away too much of the spoilers, that you're able to go in and access the storage of the army base. Originally in the default game, that was one of the only options you had for personal storage. There is no bank, there is no vault, that's it. Unfortunately, if you, for whatever reason, lose control of the army base, you now have lost access to your storage until you go back in and take the base over. If you need to get to your storage because you're low on ammunition, don't have weapons, your body armor's been destroyed, things of that nature, if you have to go into combat in order to gain access to your locker, that means you might be going into combat without those weapons, ammunition, or armor. By using bartenders, on the other hand, any town in the game that has a bartender will allow you access to your locker. The storage is shared, so it doesn't matter which town you go to, you're going to have storage access. So by storing items into your locker, you will see sold is what you're throwing into it. With merchants, that's what you're actually selling to them. So if there are items that you are currently not wanting to use, don't need, you can throw them in there. The other storage option is going to be with your vehicle itself, as noted in the vehicle guide. Each vehicle will have its own amount of storage. The more items that you throw into it, the more storage it takes up. Some of the smaller vehicles, like the starting vehicle, will have a very limited storage. Other vehicles, on the other hand, are going to have probably more storage than you'll be needing. As far as the vendors go, there are actually quite a few different vendors out there, or merchants. You're going to have to speak to different characters to find out who is who and what offers the different items. By looking on your mini-map, any person that is blue is an NPC that you can speak with, and they will usually have some purpose. The yellow dots are neutral, I would say non-vital NPCs. So for example, the different local forces, police, military, that are there just watching, they'll be yellow dots. Any civilians that you can interact with, but really they aren't going to give you much information other than just a general who's who, they're also going to be yellow dots. Obviously a trader is somebody that's going to have certain items. Con artists also are characters that have store inventories. You will find those in a couple of towns. To access the stores with the bartender, tell him let's trade, and he will show you what he has. Personally, I do not like using bartenders because their selection is fairly poor. Any character is able to use a merchant. Does not have to be your main character. So you don't have to pile your whole team around one person. Once you've opened the store, you can then choose different characters to outfit them, choose their equipment. To sell items, you just simply drag them over. It will show them as being sold. The money will instantly go to your personal amount. If the item is still in the sold list, you are then able to take it back at the full amount. So for example, if we want to purchase a bottle of wine, it's the same amount that he will buy it for. Some items, on the other hand, he will only buy them for about half of what it would cost to buy it. For example, I'm not really a big fan of the Makarov. The Calibre's just not that great. Doesn't do as much damage. So as we can see here, he will give us $684 for that. Which unfortunately he will not sell it back now. But if you... Okay, I guess we could try it this way. So it'll cost us $1,074 to buy the shotgun. If we... Maybe it's because of the game level. I'm sorry. Generally, when I've tried it in the past, certain items, for example, night vision goggles, if I looked at the inventory for what he was selling it for, it was sometimes half of what he would buy it from us, and that was perfect condition. Something that I also noted earlier was that if you have items in your trunk and you talk to certain merchants, you will see the option of selling everything in the trunk all at once. The great thing about that is, instead of having to take items out of your inventory and drag them one at a time to sell to them, which means you also will have to have it in your inventory. If you have like 300 items, that would just take a long time to have to pick it up, put it in your inventory, and then sell it. Pick it up, put it in inventory, and sell it. On the other hand, if you've got all of your loot stored into the trunk space, you can just sell it with one click. You don't have to move it around. I'll just sell it that way. Because of the different merchants offering different items, you're going to learn which towns have the different merchants. You probably will also get familiar with which merchants sell specific types of items. For example, certain merchants are going to sell more of the equipment, while others will sell more of the weapons. One other option that bartenders do have is if you choose the Any News, they will tell you if there's any other characters out there that are possibly offering out missions. The missions that they give are going to be fairly simple ones, such as go talk to this person who wants you to deliver a package to somebody else. They'll give you a couple $1,000s to do that, or a few $100s. Maybe somebody wants you to kill somebody, go talk to somebody. They're not the main storyline missions. They're generally just smaller side missions that are trying to help you get your money up, get your skills up. They're fairly basic though. The actual missions are usually going to be found by talking to these different blue dots. Once you are talking to some of them, and you'll find out that they will have different tasks for you to complete. Not every one will have missions. Some of them will have missions, but they're not available to you right now. When you do talk to people, some of them will have the option to ask about different characters. So as you're speaking to different people, learning their real names, you can then ask locals or other characters about them. By doing so, when you look at population, you will see different notes pop up on who they are. So that will basically be what covers your vehicles, storage, radio, bank features, and funding. Which again, because this is from a early start of the game, I do not have any radio. I have not visited the bank. So my funds are just going to be on my character.